The latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Lots to get through this morning, but we're breaking with some news coming out of Jan Åge Fjørtoft via FA Fieldvet, who is a Norwegian journalist, who is saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer himself has held personal talks with Thiago over a move to Manchester United. Now, we were talking about this yesterday, saying that, look, the Upamecano deal is effectively, there is no Upamecano deal, that Thiago is a very big favourite to go to Liverpool. But this is interesting. This is very interesting because it's coming from a Norwegian outlet and it's Jan Åge Fjørtoft who's retweeting it. And I just feel that maybe there may be, you know, the reference to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But look, the interesting thing is that that's not the full story. The full tweet says that, you know, Solskjaer has held talks with Thiago. However, wages are the problem. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants players who want to come to Manchester United, not players who want to come and earn big wages at Manchester United. So, I mean, that is quite an interesting story. I think in Thiago, I think we would all agree that we would take Thiago even though he's 29, and we would move Fred on at 27, and that would be an upgrade, and you can't refuse those upgrades, which basically would be a free upgrade because we'd get the money back. What it had cost us for Thiago, we'd get for Fred. So you just get a player that's 2 years older, but he's better. 29 against 27, but it still seems very, very unlikely. We're going to be talking about Sancho in a moment, and also I'm expecting some big news from Manchester United at the back end of this week, we'll speak about in a minute as well. But look, let's stick with this Thiago story. I mean, to me, and I've got to be fair, I saw a Liverpool fan mentioning this on social media as well, and they said, I don't really believe this, it doesn't really make much sense, because it's not like Liverpool are going to pay him 200k a week anyway. So what they're basically saying is that why would United hold talks with Thiago and then back away because of his wage demands when Liverpool won't pay silly wages to him anyway? More likely, he wants to go to Liverpool, and I think that's probably the truth. I think maybe United, you know, I don't think I'm not saying United have put it out there as spin, but you know, it is out there now that Solskjaer doesn't want Thiago because he's greedy. That's the story that's out there at the moment this morning. But the interesting thing will be is that you can sometimes put a story out there that people will just latch on to because they like it. Bit like, remember the story that went out about Ander Herrera that he wanted 300k a week, which was total nonsense. But if I say we shouldn't have sold Herrera, there'll be someone in the live comments saying, oh, he's a mercenary, he wanted 300k a week. He didn't. United just let his contract run down. And very cleverly, whoever put that story out, they did change opinion with some people towards Ander Herrera, and some people genuinely think Ander Herrera doesn't care about the club and was just about money, which wasn't the case. So with Thiago now, if he does go to Liverpool, there will be some fans who think, yeah, but he just wanted too much money, we don't want players like that. But then you need to look at what Liverpool are going to pay him, because if Liverpool are going to pay him 120k a week, well, we paid Dean Henderson that. So it's an interesting story. I don't think we're going to get to the truth of the matter until he signs for Liverpool and we know what wages he's on. If he's on 200k a week, I mean, you know, Matt's on 150k a week. You know, it's all relative. Thiago probably is a 200k a week player as well. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I can see people in the live comments and they're saying, yeah, but 200k a week for Thiago is exactly what we should be paying. If we're trying to get him for less than that, well, then we're mugging him off anyway. So yeah, I mean, look, it's the whole beating of the chest. We only want players who want to play for the club. But to be fair to Thiago, if United are saying we're going to give you 150k a week, and he's like, well, I want to play for United, but I want a fair wage. I want 200. Is that really a player who's like, I'm about the money? I think depends what he's going to get paid by Liverpool. So I think that's where he's going to end up, unless United can pull something out of the bag. I don't think Upamecano, forget about it. Thiago, I think we've still got a slim chance. I think there is a chance that we can get him, but I fully expect him to go to Liverpool, so let's just see how that goes. If there's any truth in Ollie being more hands-on in transfer talks, I think it's a good thing, says Joshua Bowater. We aren't the best team in the Prem at the moment, so it's important to sell a project to the players. Yeah, and Jan Åge Fjørtoft was tweeting that, to be fair, and he said that, you know, it's not unusual for a manager to speak to a player. You know, history is littered with transfers. Roy Keane was going to Blackburn Rovers. Kenny Dalglish was the Blackburn Rovers manager at the time. He went away for the weekend. I think Roy Keane had said, I'll sign for you on Monday, and Dalglish went away thinking he's got it done. Sir Alex Ferguson got in touch and he went to United. So managers can influence deals. And I've said this before, I think Jose Mourinho, maybe Louis van Gaal, they were so experienced as coaches that they were like, that's my list, go and get it. And they'd come back from their summer holidays and be like, what have you got me? Whereas I think Solskjaer is so determined and, still very inexperienced himself in comparable to the big managers like Mourinho. I think Ollie has got hands-on. And I think because we aren't very good at negotiations, Ollie getting hands-on has made us better at negotiations because he's there speaking to Van der Beek. He's there going to be speaking to Sancho. He's talking to players. And I think that's really important because we lack we lack that. Look, I want Van der Sar to be director of football. I mean, I think, his open letter to Man United fans about Van der Beek, and, I think Van der Sar would be perfect for this role. I think United need to get him, to be honest. Fred liking pictures of transfers tells me that he's been told there is a big chance on Thiago coming to United, says Jacob is red. Is there a chance that we can get up Meccano if we sell Smalling, Jones and Rojo? I know Falk and Romano have tweeted, but the market is unpredictable, says Hamza. Look, never say never, but it's highly unlikely. Vicky says 200k is greedy. Nonsense has the board forgotten how much they gave the piano playing Pratt. Exactly, Vicky. And Danny boy, Old Trafford is calling, says Matthew Walsh. From end to end, he scores and he provides. I think it's a bit too epic, that Danny Boy song, Matthew Welsh, for Donny van der Beek, to be honest with you. I don't think we're going to see that. But look, that's your update on Thiago. Let's move on to the things I was going to talk about. Now, if you remember last week, at the start of last week, I said it's going to be a big week for Manchester United. I did the hit Friday. People were going, what's the big week about, Mark? What's the big week about? And I said, look, there's 7 days in a week. We're only 4 days into it, really, on a Friday morning, because there's all a Friday, there's all a Saturday, there's all a Sunday. Well, I'm going to say to you again, but this time on Thursday morning, with a shorter week left, we've only got 4 days left in this week, I'm expecting big things from Manchester United this weekend again. I think United are going to further a deal this weekend. I don't think it's going to be Sancho from what I'm hearing, but I'm expecting Manchester United to do something big at the end of this week again. So let's just wait and see. I mean, look, it could push into next week. And look, if United are going to make 3 signings this weekend, I think we're going to do something. So watch out for that. Also, Jadon Sancho. I think one of the big questions on Jadon Sancho this transfer window has been, when is it going to happen? I'm confident it is going to happen. I'm not going to change my stance on that. We're starting to see a lot of people talking about Sancho again. There's loads of people out there that are going to go, I told you so, I told you so. But the reality is, I've been telling you since August that this will happen. But what I've never been able to tell you is when it's going to happen. And there's a lot of people out there who've been very, like me, this will happen. And there's a lot of people who like laughing at us, it's not going to happen. It is going to happen with Jadon Sancho. I'm absolutely convinced about that. The only thing that will make me think it's not going to happen is if Sancho says he's going to stay, which is obvious it's not going to happen then. But that's the statement that needs to come out if Dortmund think they're going to get him. And I don't expect that because I think Sancho wants to come to United. However, when is he going to sign for United? Well, I think we're at this point now, from the things I'm hearing and the things that we're seeing. I think we are 2 weeks on Saturday. We are playing Crystal Palace. I think we will have signed Jadon Sancho by 2 weeks today. So the Thursday before we play Crystal Palace. At the latest, I think the Friday. I don't think United want this deal to go beyond the Crystal Palace game. So I think Sancho in the next 2 weeks. And as I've said before, I feel that United, now that Van der Beek's done, Van der Beek, I've got to get used to saying Van der Beek. Now that Donny van der Beek is done, we are moving into this weekend on the next deal, which will take us to mid next week, which then the England internationals will be done. And I think from this time next week to this time in 2 weeks is going to be the week where the Jadon Sancho deal will escalate. It could happen before that. The big news of the weekend could be Jadon Sancho, but I think because Sancho's part of the England setup, I don't think that's going to happen, and I think United are going to try and get another deal done before then. So let's wait and see. Sangaré for centre defensive midfielder is quality for 20 million, says Dylan Taylor from Toulouse. Jamal Lewis is backup, and Sancho, a CDM left back, is Dylan. I think you're going way too much there. I think you've got to be realistic. One major advantage of Van der Beek is his Champions League experience and the ability to perform on the big stage, and maybe the key to progressing further. I mean, look, I don't want to disrespect James Maddison and Jack Grealish, but I suppose in a way I'm going to do it right now. Look at Donny van der Beek's experience. Look at his age and look at what he's saying coming to the club. I know it's very stereotypical what I'm about to say, and I'm an English man, but if you're offering me Grealish or Maddison, or you're offering me Van der Beek or Bruno, I'm going to go with the foreign option every time. There's just a mentality with these players. They are footballers. They want to be ballers. They want to focus professionally on that. And I just think, unfortunately, the British players get labelled with this drinking culture not all of them, and they're overhyped and they're overpriced by our media. And I think that's the more important thing. They're overpriced and they're overhyped. If you dropped James Maddison or Jack Grealish into La Liga and they were called El Maddison or Jacques Grealish, then, or in the French league, obviously, would they be spoken about like Bruno Fernandes or Donny van der Beek, or would they just be okay midfielders that we don't even hear about from Spain? And that's the thing. We overhype our players because for 20 years there's been an ever reducing pool of British talent, so that when this British talent comes through, it gets overhyped because actually it's a British player. Wow, it's an English player playing in the Premier League for a Premier League club. And that is starting to change. We're starting to produce a lot more players now. We're starting to see more British players in the Premier League, even more British managers in the Premier League. But for a long time, that wasn't happening. And I think we were overhyping players. I can think of a few from 10, 15 years ago that weren't actually that good, but were overhyped because they were English. Steve Guppy at Leicester used to play left wing for England sometimes. He's just average run of the mill player. Don't want to upset Leicester fans. So, look, I'm very happy. I'm feeling something's brewing, says Harrison Daniel. I think we can really close the gap with at least 2 to 3 signings. It's exciting, but we have to remain calm. We are unpredictable in the transfer window, says Harrison. Exactly. And Emperor says, how much United have to pay to get both Sancho and Haaland if they could do a double deal? Never. Never going to happen, Emperor. On the Sancho deal, as I've said many a time, personal terms are done with Sancho, or, they're not a problem. I feel that United have just been waiting to do this deal. There's other things they want to do. I think they want to move a couple of players out. They want to get a couple of players in. And the structure of the deal will be very straightforward. It will be probably 80 million plus 20 plus 10 or 90 plus 30. Something like that will happen with Manchester United, and they will pay it because in this market, Jadon Sancho for 108 million isn't that expensive. He is 20 years of age. He is proven on the world stage, and he is potentially one of the best players in the world in the next few years. So United are going to look at that. They really will. There are no Sancho alternatives, Xavi. I don't want to hear about Gareth Bale. If we're going to sign Gareth Bale, we may as well sign Rory McIlroy. At least he's a United player because he's a golf player. Bale to me is injury prone, old, and proven himself to be not that committed to playing football. Why would you want a player like that at United? No. Don't want Gareth Bale at United. That's a story that's gone. What do you feel about the Skriniar rumours, says Nitin? We've spoken about those before. I don't think there's anything about that. Michael Turner says Sky Sports are saying that terms are not done. Yeah, but you believe what you want, Michael. Believe what you want. People are saying that the personal terms with Jadon Sancho are not a problem. The British press are saying that they are a problem. I've always said I lean towards the fact that personal terms are not a problem because United can't release that out anyway because clubs agree. Like, what I would say is this, right? The Van der Beek deal, we spoke to Van der Beek first and we agreed personal terms and then we bid to Ajax. Thiago, Solskjaer spoken Thiago. We've not bid with Bayern. We've just spoken with Thiago. We spoke with Gabriel and his agent as well, according to Fabrizio. So you speak to the player before you put the bid in anyway. And United have just been waiting on this Sancho deal for various reasons, but it will happen. There's not a problem with Jadon Sancho coming to Manchester United. There is no problem with Sancho coming to United. He wants to come to United, and it will happen. Mark, please address this consistent sentence from some of the media saying United will look to sign Sancho next season instead, as he will be cheaper. Well, he won't be cheaper, Andrew C, and we won't get him next season. So it's going to happen this year. Torres is experienced, plays in a competitive league, can get into the team immediately. Badiashile is young and inexperienced, take longer to settle. That's Pratchett saying that we should go for Pau Torres over Badiashile. Torres isn't that experienced. He's still pretty young, isn't he? And he plays for Villarreal. What do you think about hashtag United winning their first FA Cup game? Just Tim Boss. I don't follow them, but well done. Fair play. Regular news mark, says Che. Yes, there is stories coming out of AS, who are a Spanish outlet. There's no news on Upamecano, Lone Wanderer. We spoke about it yesterday. It's not happening. We spoke about it twice yesterday, if you want to check those videos out. Regulin is a left back, and I've probably got his name wrong, from Real Madrid. I think there's talk that Sevilla or Valencia want him on loan, but that United would be willing to take him for about 25 million, but Real Madrid would want a buyback clause. I don't rate the source, AS. I don't think United are in for him. I know a lot of you like it. I would really like United to buy a left-back who's left-footed, because if Luke Shaw gets injured again, we're in problems. But I don't think United are in for him. I don't feel there's enough real news around that at the moment. But let's keep an eye out for it. KL says, is it realistic we can buy our way back into contention, or more likely the league needs Liverpool to fall off the pace for anyone to properly challenge? Says Kill07. No, I don't think you've got to wait for Liverpool or Manchester City to drop off. I think you've got to try and close that gap, and that's what Chelsea and United are doing. And yes, I was trending on Twitter last night. Ridiculous. And I don't take any pride in this, because if you're trending on Twitter, it tends to be because you've said something prattish. But what I said last night has been totally taken out of context. I love social media, obviously, and I love football Twitter. I think it's a great place. It can be a bit toxic at times, but I always think the toxicity is based on banter, really. Of course, you're always going to get a bad element. You get that in anywhere. But I was trending on Twitter last night, and I saw my name, and I was like, what am I trending for? What have I done? And I looked at what it was, and it was basically a lot of Chelsea fans saying, Goldbridge, can't believe Goldbridge has said that he thinks Van der Beek's better than Lampard, which I didn't actually say. And I looked at the clip, and basically somebody had clipped a bit where I said, I've seen people comparing Van der Beek to Lampard, which I think is really unfair. That unfairness was because I think you can't compare Van der Beek to Lampard. But what I also said is that there's more to Van der Beek's game than that. He's not just a player who gets into the box and scores goals like Lampard did. He's got more to his game defensively, which he does. Like, he does have more to his game defensively than Lampard. I spent most of my, teenage 20s years watching prime Lampard for Chelsea and England. And then, but that's where they cut it off. And then the next few seconds I said, look, if Van der Beek can get anywhere near Lampard, happy days. Lampard is one of the best Premier League midfielders in Premier League history. He's only second to Scholes and Gerrard in my mind. So he's a fantastic player, Lampard. In no way is Van der Beek even, I don't think, similar to Lampard. But I think Van der Beek has got more to his game than Lampard in relation to the defensive side of the game. I don't think Van der Beek can even compare to Mason Mount at the moment. He's never played in the bloody Premier League. So that is silly. But there are parallels between Chelsea and Manchester United, of course there are. And, as I've said before, I like Lampard as a coach. I actually think when you compare Lampard and Solskjaer as coaches, if you really want to be honest, we finished on the same amount of points and we had pretty much the same season last year. No trophies, but nearly. We beat Chelsea 3 times. They beat us once in the FA Cup semi-final. But I think where Ollie's second to Lampard at the moment is when I've seen Chelsea play, and I think they're naive at the back still, and I think we're better defensively, but I think they're better on the eye than us at the moment. I think they played better. I think Lampard's style of football was very clear when Derby came to United and played us off the pitch. I think Lampard's got a very clear way of playing football that's very pleasing on the eye when it works, and I don't think Solskjaer's quite there yet. So you could say that Lampard as a coach plays a better brand of football than Ollie at the moment, but I just think they're parallel, and I think Chelsea and United are parallel, and I think we are trying, going back to that question, we are trying to close a gap on Man City and Liverpool, and we don't, neither club wants to close that gap because those two teams drop off. We want to close the gap through our own play and ability, and obviously that's going to mean being active in the transfer window. And if you do want to soundbite Chelsea fans, I'll give you a player that's better than one of yours. Luke Shaw is miles better than Bill Chilwell. He's streets ahead of him, absolutely streets ahead of him. There are United fans in our fan base who don't like Luke Shaw, and obviously if you've got United fans who don't like Luke Shaw, the wider rival fans are going to come out with stupid stuff like he's fat, he's crap and all this nonsense. Luke Shaw is one of the best left-backs in the Premier League. It's factual. You can laugh at me, you can clip it, you can get me trending again if you want to. He won Fan Player of the Year a couple of years ago, and last season, from Christmas to when he got injured, was one of our best players. Now, you can have an agenda against Luke Shaw because you don't like him, and there's plenty of United fans who don't. But factually, evidentially, and using your eyes, he is one of the best left-backs in the Premier League. And I tell you what, we would have won a Europa League if it wasn't for Luke, if Luke Shaw had been fit. He is absolutely fundamental to our left-hand side. Nobody covers more ground. Defensively, he's sound. He's a brilliant, brilliant left-back. And I tell you what, Chelsea fans, you think Ben Chilwell's a good player, you're going to find out very, very quickly. Going forward, way better than Luke Shaw. Defensively, not even in the top 10 left-backs in the league. So Lampard's got his work cut out there. Martial's better than Werner. I'll have that argument with everybody as well. Bruno's way better than Havertz. I'll have that argument as well. So, you know, look, if you want real sound bites, then I'll give you Man United players that are better than Chelsea players. But I am not going to be... I cannot. I hope Van der Beek can be anywhere near as good as Lampard. Do you feel Pogba signing a new contract will be a doubt because of the Van der Beek transfer, says Nitin? Oh, no, this is nonsense. This is absolutely nonsense. Pogba will sign his new contract. I think in football, and to be fairness to Chelsea fans, they seem to grasp it. All these players that Chelsea have bought, they're like, look at our bench now, look at our bench options, because we've got loads and loads of bench options. Some United fans and the wider media really seem to struggle with having a squad, because I've seen people saying Van der Beek, Pogba and Bruno will all play together. Idiotic. I've seen people saying now Van der Beek's come in, Pogba's going to go. Idiotic. We're trying to build a squad, and I do wonder whether people actually watch Manchester United play, because I'm like, we watched those last few games and we were like, our bench is awful. We need better bench players. We buy somebody who can give us some real depth in the midfield, and it's like, we've got to play all three. We've got to find a way to play Van der Beek, Pogba and Bruno. But then, what if one of those gets injured? You're bringing on Pereira again. We need competition for places that you look to the bench and you go, wow, that's what we need. So, Pogba's not going anywhere, and Pogba's not for sale. So, buying Donny Van der Beek is not about a replacement for Pogba. It's just a silly, lazy bit of journalism that started on TalkSport, I think, and has been taken on by the masses. If we don't get a defender in Sancho, we will miss top 4 in trophies next season, says George B. I would agree with that, George. I would agree with that. I think if United don't buy Sancho and they don't get a centre-back in, they're going to make their job harder next season. Welcome to the Members Club, Siam Vulia. I hope I've got that right. Probably haven't. Please smash a like on the video if you are watching, bottom right hand corner to do that, and subscribe if you are new. What else did I need to talk to you about? We've spoken about the left back. Big news by the weekend. Ollie talks to Thiago. Tonali, I actually saw somebody on the live comments last night mention this, so I've got to give you a bit of credit. They said that Pogba's better than Kante. Of course he is. Of course he is. I mean, but I don't like these this is better than that, because club rivalry comes into it. And, you know, there'll be Chelsea fans saying that, you know, Kepa's better than De Gea. You know, and De Gea had a bad season, but he ain't that shit. So, look, you're always going to have your club rivalries. You know, Arsenal fans think Tierney's the best left-back in the league. You know, Andy Robertson's like, hold my beer. You know, but club rivalry always will do that. Of course it will. But look, I like Lampard. I never liked him as a player because he was a big rival. But when I saw him on BT or whatever he was on, I thought, God, he really is intelligent. I like the style of football he's playing at Chelsea. I've not liked Chelsea for years. I didn't like Chelsea. Even I really like Ancelotti, but I didn't like him when he was at Chelsea. I just found Chelsea a very difficult club to like. But to be honest with you, since Lampard's gone in there, and his development of young players and the way they play football, I find Chelsea more likeable than I ever have for years. So, you know, but rivalry's rivalry, isn't it? You've got to have that banter, you've got to have that rivalry. But and you should be loyal to your players, you know. You should be loyal to your players. That's just the way it is. But just on the Tonali thing, Brescia president has said that United Tonali rejected a move to Manchester United because he wants to stay in Italy. I really hope that story is true. I know it's not nice to get rejected by a player, but look, Tonali was always going to stay in Italy. The Italian Roy Keane, he's fantastic. He's a brilliant player, and I'd love him to come to Manchester United. But when we had Fabrizio Romano on the show one of the times, we actually had this conversation about Tonali and I think we were talking about Barella and some other Italian players, and saying, look, we've been linked to them, but I've been watching Serie A for a long time, and it's very rare that an Italian player who's up and coming will leave Italy in general, let alone come to England. And he was always going to stay in Italy. But I would love to think that United tried to get him, and if we got rejected so he can stay in Italy, well, that was what it's a bit like the Thiago situation. I'd love United to try and get him. Liverpool are massive favourites, and the same with Tonali. Him staying in Italy was massive favourites. But I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that the Brescia president has come out and said it, but I would love United to be in for it, because again, it would show a development of our foreign scouting confidence to actually start looking away from England. And it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. I think we need to look away from the overhyped British talent, because it's a waste of money. And I just think British Premier League players stereotypically have a different attitude to football than these foreign players that we bring in, because the foreign players tend to be total professionals and focused on being, footballers. And not all British players are like that. A lot of British players get bogged down with hype and media attention, media focus. They're not as good as they're made out to be, and there's loads and loads of extracurricular marketing and all that bullshit. You can be a very average player in an England squad and end up being the face of whatever. You get overhyped massively. I think Lingard's been a victim of that. I think Dele Alli's been a victim of that. There was a time where they were talking about them like they're on the same stage as Kevin De Bruyne. And look, we can laugh at that now, but a couple of years ago, when it was Messi, Lingard and Dele Alli was doing well for Spurs, they were being spoken about as like, they're up there with De Bruyne. And anyone with eyes could see that that wasn't the case. But that's a prime example of overhyping. And I think, Jack Grealish is going to be staying at Villa by the looks of it this season, and James Maddison's going to definitely be at Leicester. Let's see what seasons they have next year, because if I was one of those two players, I'd be like, you know what? I've not got the move I should have got. There was interest from Manchester United, but I've not got that move. I've been priced out of a move. Can I go and have a season like I did last year? And it'd be interesting to see what happens with the careers of those two players, because I think United have made the right choice with Donny van de Beek. Mark, Real Madrid fans getting bitter because we signed Van de Beek and they didn't. Now they claim Odegaard is better than Donny. Haters gonna hate, says Craven. I'm not bothered about Real Madrid. I'm not worried about Real Madrid or Barcelona. I don't think they're big clubs anymore in relation to, well, obviously they are big clubs. That's getting clipped. They are big clubs. They're two of the biggest clubs in the world. But what I'm trying to say is they're a bit like United. We're one of the biggest clubs in the world, but over the last 6-7 years, we haven't acted like a big club. And I think Real Madrid and Barcelona, apart from dominance of their own league, because basically it's a two-horse race, the way the money works there, it's impossible for any club to win the title like Leicester did with us. But I think on the European stage, which is where Real Madrid and Barcelona fans really want to be relevant, they're miles off. They're miles off. At the moment, PSG and Bayern Munich are the two best clubs in England, in Europe, because they got to the final and they deserve to get that. I don't think Liverpool are far away from them. I think Liverpool on their day can beat them. I still think Man City are going to come again. So there's 4 clubs from 3 different countries that are better than Barcelona and Real Madrid. And that's 3 different countries. So, I don't think Barcelona and Real Madrid are clubs that we need to be worrying about at the moment. Maybe this early interest in Tonali opens the door for an opportunity to sign him down the road, says Matt. Maybe. And to the tune of Coffee and TV by Blur, so give me Donny van der Beek. Take us back to the Theatre of Dreams and win us the Premier. Oh no, I've read the bit. So give us Donny van der Beek. I can't do that, Duncan. I know the song, but I know you're doing a totally different area of the song for me. What's our next signing going to be, says Max. Well, as I said a few minutes ago, expect a big development around Manchester United this weekend again. Maybe it'll move into early next week, but I think it'll be this weekend. I don't think it's going to be Sancho. I think Sancho will be the Sancho move will start this time next week to this time in 2 weeks. I think that's the week for Sancho. I think this week between now and then is going to be the second signing. Whether it's going to be a centre-back, whether it's going to be maybe a slim chance of Thiago, I don't know. But I expect a second signing in the next week for United. And then the third signing will be Sancho the week after that. That's how it's shaping up. Of course, these things can change, but that's how it's shaping up. Great singing, Mark, says Lucas. It's a little bit early. Read the super chat. I've done that. And hi Mark, my mate's tier 1 United reporter. Here we go. Aditya, and he said that Sancho's agent is a big problem to the deal, and he looked him up on Twitter and he follows all top clubs except United. Anyone but United, says Aditya. I don't think Sancho's agent is the problem at all. I don't know who your mate is who is a tier 1 United reporter. I know that James Cooper has sort of alluded to that, and we've had James on the show before. And look, I've said this about the Manchester Evening News, and I'll say it about James Cooper as well. Very good outlets with very good ears within Manchester United Football Club. But I'll also say this. Do you think Manchester United Football Club put the truth out about everything? Or do you think sometimes they put stuff out because it paces the story correctly? It just moves the story along the way they want it to move along. I don't think the agent is a problem, and I don't think Jadon Sancho's wages are the problem. I think what's happening here is Manchester United are just pacing the deal. They're giving a reason why the deal is taking a little bit of time, because it's a little bit confusing for some people. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. But look, you can believe what you want. I've always said that this Jadon Sancho deal will happen, and I'm 90% sure it will. Aaron B says, Mark, you're the only one who still believes Sancho is coming to United this window. Aaron, that is absolutely not the case. There is a lot of people who expect this deal to happen. And only last night, people were talking about the deal moving closer. So that is not the truth at all. Do you think selling Romero is a good deal for Villa? Says David. I've had a few Villa, because I live in the Midlands, I've had a few Villa, and I know a few Villa fans. I had a few Villa fans messaging me last night about Romero. And my honest answer was, he's a very good goalkeeper, but I've never had confidence with him under the high ball. So, all these United fans who used to say Romero should be our number one. No, not for me. I think he's a good goalkeeper, and I think he's done a good job at the club, and I wish him all the best. But I do not have confidence with Romero handling the ball. I think I think sometimes he punches too much, and I don't think he's good at catching. But I'm interested to see how he'll do. I think it's a good signing for Villa, and he may well prove me wrong. Mark, may we need another striker, but I feel Martial, Rashford and Greenwood have done well since Bruno has arrived, and I feel we're good for now, don't you? So I wouldn't buy another striker because I think it will be Josh King. If everything is done with the Sancho deal, and if only agreement with Dortmund has to be done, can it be done quick and announced on the 7th? I see what you mean there, Jam. A lot of people would like it to happen on the 7th because the 7th is obviously going to be the number that Jadon Sancho wears. But the 7th would be 5th, 6th, 4th, 5th, Monday. I don't think it's going to happen on the 7th. I think the reason it's not going to happen on the 7th is because I think we're going to go and try and do something else before then. And look, and remember the big news might be a big player leaving. So remember that might happen before we sign Sancho as well. So, and when I say a big player, I don't mean Pogba or anyone like that. I'm talking more like, I think Pereira leaving would be quite a big surprise. Lingard would be shocking. So, maybe something like that will happen before. But I think United are looking at Sancho back end of next week and the week after. I don't think we're looking now to get Sancho because he's also got two very big games with England. And I think Gareth Southgate, they are big games. England have got a game on Saturday and Tuesday, and they are the Euro Nations games, so they're not friendly. So I don't think Southgate's going to go and sort out the biggest deal of your life in between that. So there you go. And that might be a little bit of a hint as well as to what we're going to do, because I think what we're going to do over the next week is going to involve players who are not playing internationally. Regulan to Manchester United's very close, says Ivano. No, it's not. And why do you think United never do loan to buy transfers, says Sid Marsh. I just think bigger clubs don't tend to do it, and it's not really been something that Man United look at doing. And I think loan to buy deals tend to have an element of risk to them. If you look at like Rodriguez went to Bayern Munich, loan to buy, never happened because they didn't want it to happen. So I don't think United at the moment are in that sort of risk stage, if that makes sense. There's a new deadline for Sancho before the beginning of the Bundesliga, says Ryan. And I don't believe in these deadlines, and I don't think Manchester United believe in these deadlines either. Dortmund have said show us the money and he's yours. The only hold up on this deal is United, and United giving Dortmund what they want for Sancho, says Chris. And hey Mark, De Gea had his worst season ever in United colours, but his 14 clean sheets are still better than Kepa. What a prat, says Mazzana. And forget Upamecano, says Alex Ferreira. Exactly. Would Mario Götze be worth a punt on a free transfer? Doesn't fit the profile, Matty Cooper. I think he's worth a punt for some clubs, but he's not what United are looking for. And In the past, we've done good business with Dortmund, twice for Gagawa and Mkhitaryan and Januzaj on loan. You would think we would have enough mutual respect by now to get the Sancho deal done. I don't think the relationship between Dortmund and Manchester United is as bad as the press think it is. As I said last night, I think United, Dortmund and Sancho know this deal's going to happen. And I think it's going to happen when United want it to happen, which is in the next couple of weeks. And I think that was always United's intention. The thing that I think frustrated Manchester United was that when it came out at the start of August, how close this deal was and how much had been agreed. And obviously a lot of that came out from Romano and other people. And I think it bothered United because they knew they weren't announcing that deal at the start of August and that they were looking towards September. And it was like, how the hell are we going to cover? I mean, imagine if you've got that problem. Like, you're going to launch a massive, major thing in September, but the world press get hold of it in August, and you don't want to bring it forward. It's going to happen in September. How do you fill the 5 or 6 weeks where there's so much hype? And I think what we've seen from United it is, you know, trying to dampen that hype. This isn't as close as people think. We haven't agreed personal terms. You know, and I think that's what we've seen over the last 5 or 6 weeks. And I think that's what will end up happening. Donny in a trolley, balls going into top bins, tearing up the grass with the boys who are all class, scoring for the win, says Harrison Daniel. And welcome to the Members Club, Trice. Thanks for joining. And thoughts on Gini to Barcelona as make weight for Thiago, says Samyak. Well, that seems to be the logical thing, that Wijnaldum will go to Barcelona and Thiago will go to Liverpool. And look, Liverpool are favourites to get Thiago because they're better than us. That's the bottom line at the moment. Bite it, don't fight it. It's a fact. We're trying to close that gap. And I saw it for years with United. A lot of players wanted to come to United over Arsenal or Liverpool because we were better. Nowadays, Liverpool are better than us, so they might get a player that we would like. Just the way it is. Please smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We'll be back again live tonight at 8 o'clock, but I'm sure we'll be back again live before that because, as I said, busy, lots going on with United at the moment, and I expect another big weekend for United, and then another big weekend after that as we move towards Sancho and as we move towards somebody else this weekend. Let's wait and see. Thanks for watching, smash a like, and I'll speak to you soon.